Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In my screen you can see my Upwork profile and you can clearly see that I have made close to 100 grand from Upwork in the past few years. I have 242 connects, I have done 95 jobs and I have worked in total 2,820 hours on Upwork. Now I've made way more money outside Upwork than I made on Upwork, but in this video I wanted to tell you how I think about freelancing. So if you're new, if you're trying to be a freelancer, especially if you're trying to go on a marketplace like Upwork, I think this video is going to be very helpful because in this video I'll try to break down what I think about freelancing and how I think you can get your first 5, 10 or 20 clients. So let's begin. So I'm obviously not going to show you how to sign up for Upwork. You go to upwork.com and you just click sign up. There's nothing to show there, and in case if you don't know how to do that, I don't think this video is for you because if you are not good with computers, you're not going to be a good freelancer because literally the first quality of a freelancer is to be able to use internet and talk to the clients because the clients are not going to be in the same place as you are. The first thing that I would say that you should look at is your photo. Your photo should be professional, but not too professional. I find these as a decent middle ground. So a headshot where you're smiling to the camera is always nice. You can ask one of your friends to do it, but I think if you are new and if you want to impress, a good strategy is using one of those AI photo tools where you upload 5, 10 of your photos and then the AI tool will give you a professional headshot. Those tend to work well as well. The next thing is your heading. So the only goal of this heading is for a potential client to get an assurance that they're not wasting their time. That's literally it. Now, you can't really do much in the headline. All you're trying to do is to tell the client that yes, you know what you're talking about and they're gonna get a good deal if they continue exploring your profile. And the following thing would be your hourly rate. Now, I have a lot of things to say about the hourly rate, but the most important part is that you shouldn't set it too low or too high. If you set it too low, so for example, if you think that setting up your hourly rate at $3 an hour, $5 an hour, $8 an hour would give you a chance to get more customers, more clients because your hourly rate is too low compared to, let's say, your peers, that's not a good strategy and that will never work because then you will end up attracting clients who are not long-term clients, who are cheapskates, who are looking for free or very low skill works and they're not gonna make you rich, that's for sure. So don't set your hourly rate for too low of a price. At the same time, don't set it too high that a client hesitates to talk to you. So if you set your hourly rate at $500 an hour or $1,000 an hour, what will happen is you will alienate a lot of the clients that would potentially have knocked you if you had a decent hourly rate. In my case, I have my hourly rate set at $30 an hour and I have had that for years now because what happens is eventually I end up working with clients with $70 an hour. I also end up working with some clients at $25 an hour, for example, but 30 I find is a decent middle ground where I'm not alienating a lot of the clients. Everyone's feeling comfortable to approach me. At the same time, it is high enough so that I'm avoiding bad clients, if that makes sense. Okay, the next thing is your description. The goal of your description is to tell a potential client that you know what you're talking about. I always say that there are 2 ways to tell someone that you know about your skills. You are experienced. You see, when it's internet and when you're applying to a job, there is no way for a client to know whether you can actually do it or not. The client doesn't want to waste his time or his money. So what he'll try to do is he'll try to guess whether you are the right person for his or her particular task. And he'll try to find that answer with your profile and also with the discussions that he'll have with you in the chat inbox. Now, there are 2 strategies that you can use to convince a potential customer or client that you know what you're talking about. One is to show, the other is to do. So I'll give you an example and that'll make our life easier. So let's say you are a YouTube optimization expert. You know how to rank a YouTube video on page 1 of YouTube for a particular keyword. There are 2 ways to prove that you know this particular skill. One is to show. So simply show your YouTube channel, your own YouTube channel. Show that you have these 20 videos that are on page 1. Show that you have 100,000 subscribers. Show that you upload videos on your YouTube channel regularly. So show, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. You have already done it for yourself, so you should be able to do it for me as well. So I'm gonna be happy to hire you. There is that, show. The other one, in case if you can't do show, the second thing that you can do, which is the second best thing I would say, is do. So if you can't show, do, which means offer clients free services, offer clients at least a week free or 2 weeks free, depending on the service type. If it's a content gig, then you can always offer to write the first 500 word, first 1,000 word, the first 5 copies of a Facebook video for free. If it's a design gig, you can tell them that, look, I'll do the first mock-up for free. So yeah, make it fit for your particular case scenario. But if you can't show, do, and do it for free is the second best option in my opinion. The rest of the things in your profile doesn't really matter much. One thing that I would say, especially if you're from non-English speaking country, is that do some sort of an English exam. I remember I'm from Bangladesh. So what I did is I did my IELTS exam, IELTS. And when I did my IELTS exam and when I got a fluency certificate, I added it on my Upwork. So you could just click this plus icon and then you would be able to upload a certificate, and then Upwork verifies it. And once Upwork verifies it, it'll give you a blue tick mark, and that makes clients more interested in you because they know that there won't be any communication gaps. You will understand what they're trying to say and vice versa. So there's that. Try to get a language verified if you can. The second one is obviously ID verification. If you can do that, great. Make sure that the rest of your profile is filled out. So your education shouldn't be empty. Your portfolio shouldn't be empty. You obviously wouldn't have work experience if it's a fresh Upwork profile, but try to fill in as much of it as you can. And especially if possible, there is a way. Yeah. So this is a video introduction section, which Upwork introduced last year. See if you can add a video introduction. Even if the video quality is bad, video always helps close more customers. Now, I don't really work as a freelancer anymore, but if I would have 100% added a video in my Upwork profile because I know for a fact that if you add a video, you will have 40 to 50% more conversion from a regular client because it's just when you talk to them on a video face to face, technically face-to-face, at least 50 to 60% more likely to hire you compared to if you didn't have video. Now, I'll go to a random job and then I'll give you some insights about how I think you should apply to a particular job. So the first thing that you should do is, so let's say mid-level digital marketing expert needed. I'll read this job description with you and then together we will decide how to apply to this job. So busy consultant, am seeking a mid-level digital marketing expert to help execute various client tasks effectively. The ideal candidate will have a solid understanding of many digital marketing strategies and be able to implement them across multiple channels. You must be a great communicator and be available to work during US time zones. Responsibilities include managing campaigns, analyze performance metrics, and optimizing content for better engagement. If you have a passion for digital marketing and a proven track record of delivering result, we would love to hear from you. So that's the job. The first thing that I would do, even before I click on apply now, is I'll scroll down and I'll try to find the first name of this client. So Upwork kind of hides it. You don't really know who is the person that posted this job. But if you scroll down, you will be able to see their past reviews. And one thing that pretty much everyone does is when they're posting a review, they'll address the client by their first name. So if I look at this review, for example, to freelancer Harold did a great job. So Harold was the freelancer. Simon was good, not great. So Simon was also the freelancer. I'm trying to find a review where the freelancer reviewed the client. Yeah, so see, just an awesome and really fluid experience with Mike. He provides you with all the needed material and exact explanation to successfully blah blah. So we know that the name of the client is Mike. Now, this is important because if you start your application with the first name of the client, then the likelihood of them reading your application is way higher because he would then know that you did some sort of a research and you know their name. So yeah, that's just one quick nugget that you probably didn't know. The other thing that I would tell you is that always read the past reviews. Some clients are more harsh than others. And if you think that this particular client have had negative experiences with a lot of freelancers in the past, I would recommend that you don't apply to that job, because if you get a negative feedback on a job, two things are gonna happen. One, you might have to give a full refund to remove that feedback from your Upwork profile. The second is, if you don't do a full refund, then that negative experience will be visible on your Upwork profile, and overall it'll be a negative for your Upwork profile, even if you get $100, $200, $500 out of that job. So what I always do is I'll make sure that I read all the reviews, and I only apply to a client's job if I think that he have had decent past experience with the previous freelancers. The only other thing that I would want you to look at is his past hourly rates. So for example, in this particular case, he hired a lead generation specialist. He gave that lead generation specialist 2-star out of 5, which is very bad. And he was paying that lead guy $6 an hour. In total, he paid $130 an hour, which I think is okay for a lead specialist. $6 an hour isn't that bad. Lead generation is not that complicated of a task anyways. If I read the review, seemed smart and polite, but after an excessive amount of build hours, the output was poor. His communication faded as the project went on, although his effort to bill hours without producing work did not fade. So it seems like the freelancer was bad from this review. So it's not actually the client's fault. In this case, you can see that the freelancer gave the client 1.5 star and the client gave the freelancer 1.3 star. So if we read the freelancer's review, very disappointed in how it turned out. No, actually, this is the client reviewing the freelancer. The freelancer didn't give a review to the client. This was a good job. This was a $30 an hour job. He billed $367. So overall, this client looks a little risky in terms of, if you ask me, if I go by my experience, but at the same time, he had 389 reviews, and his total review is 4.97 out of 5, which is great. So I'd say it's a hit and miss, but probably it's more freelancer's fault than the client's fault. The client seems fine, and he had some bad freelancer experiences. That's all I'd say. Now, I'll click apply now, and then it'll load in a different profile. And then, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll not change anything in my hourly rate. I will say never. I don't want a rate increase. So the less friction there is, the better. There is no point saying in here that you would want a raise every 6 months. You would want a 10% raise every 6 months. You don't even know that you would, whether you would work with this client in 6 months or not. So I always put it as never. Then I'll do, hey, Mike, and then I'll go on and write my proposal. So the first section is always how I think I can solve the problem. So first section, how I think I can solve the problem. If we go back to the job description, what was the problem? The client is looking for someone who can manage campaigns. So he can't manage campaigns at this moment. He needs someone who can analyze performance metrics and optimize content for better engagement. So we can clearly understand that he has 3 problems. He needs someone who can manage campaigns. He has some issues with managing his campaigns right now. The second one is analyzing performances of the campaigns, which kind of is the first problem in a way. And then the third one is optimizing content for better engagement. So he doesn't know how to optimize content now. So in the first section, I'll talk about these 3 things: how I will be able to analyze performances, how I will be able to optimize content with examples. All right. This is very important. If you don't include examples of past cases where you have done it, or if you don't have past examples, if you're very new, then you can do a case study. In this particular case, this person have done it like this, and I think I'll do the same thing for you because I think that will work. So that's the first bit, how I think I can solve the problem. The second one is your credential. So your credential, you can talk about your certification, your past experience, previous jobs that were similar to this one, or anything that you think will nudge the client towards your direction. So that's the second part. The third one is a CTA, which is a call to action. I always recommend that you ask for a call. You always end your Upwork bid saying, would you be interested in a call? let me know. Or are you free tomorrow for a call? Let me know. Or are you free next week for a call? Let me know. I find that works the best. If you don't end your cover letter with a CTA, with a call to action, the chance of them forgetting you is quite high, because what happens from a client's point of view is they'll read through 10, 20, 30 applications at a go. And sometimes they'll think that, look, this application is nice, but let me read the other 20 and then I'll come back to this if I don't find anything better. And then they'll eventually forget the first one. So if you have a call to action, that kind of makes them want to take an action immediately, which is a good thing. So I always add the CTA. And then in the attachment, generally this is almost always empty, but if you have something that's relevant, or if you can do a quick sample of what the client is trying to achieve. So for example, if it's a design gig, you can do a quick mock-up, add it to the attachment. If it's let's say they're trying to do a digital marketing campaign, you can do a quick storyboard of how you think the campaign should structure. You can add that as an attachment. It always helps to add an attachment. If you can do a sample of what you're actually trying to do for this particular client, don't add one of your past work examples, because those won't really work well. For the profile highlight, add the relevant work experiences if you have any that goes with this particular job. In this case, what I'll do is I'll just go to largest projects and then I'll add 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll click add to highlights. When it comes to boost, I think it is important that you do boost, because if you have a higher level Upwork profile, then you can actually see how many applications are there on a particular job and where your bid is compared to the other bids. I don't have that, so I can only see that this job post has 12 to 20 proposals. Now, you can always assume that at least 50% of that is garbage and fresh profiles, so you're not really competing with that. If you have a decent cover letter, you are kind of ahead of at least 50% of the other proposals anyways. So yeah, I would recommend that you do a boost. You do less number of bids, but with higher number of boost. And that will help you get more clients. That's basically a guarantee. And then you simply click send for 43 connects, and then that bid is gone. It is a numbers game, unfortunately, on Upwork. And the more you bid, the higher is the chance that you will get a client. But at the same time, if the bid quality is low, then no matter how many times you apply, you will never get a job. So I hope this is helpful. I have worked a lot on Upwork back in the days, especially before COVID. I have my Upwork profile as a backup plan in case if something goes wrong, I'll come back to Upwork and I'll start working on Upwork again. So yeah, let me know if you have any comments about Upwork. I'll try to answer as many of them as I can. Cheers. Bye.